Welcome to our telecast. In today's telecast, we're going to go into the title called War in the Dark. Now listen to the title. The title is called War in the Dark. You need to get ready and write the PowerPoints. For PowerPoint number 1, you write Blackouts. For PowerPoint number 2, simply write the Drought. For PowerPoint number 3, you write the embassy, and I will explain. For PowerPoint number 4, you write eliminating and taking back your land. For PowerPoint number 5, you write immigration. For PowerPoint number 6, you write confiscating. For PowerPoint number 7, you write warrant arrest. For PowerPoint number 8, you write flight tickets. For PowerPoint number 9, you write the word register. For PowerPoint number 10, you write the global digital currency. For PowerPoint 11, the unemployment. And PowerPoint number 12, the global collapse. Some of these points we have spoken before. The title, War in the Dark. You need to pay attention and listen very closely because it will affect all of civilization. It will practically affect the entire world, all nations, and every single human being that still exists and breathes and walks on the earth. Let me give you the PowerPoints again, and I'm not going to repeat them anymore. PowerPoint number 1, Blackouts. PowerPoint number 2, the Drought. PowerPoint number 3, the embassy. And I told you I will explain. PowerPoint number 4, eliminating and taking back your land. PowerPoint number 5, immigration. PowerPoint number 6, confiscated. PowerPoint number 7, warrant arrest. PowerPoint number 8, flight tickets. PowerPoint number 10, the word register. The global digital currency. Number 9 was the word register. PowerPoint number 11, unemployment. And PowerPoint number 12, the global collapse. Let's begin our telecast. And I want you somewhere next to your paper before we start to go down these points and I explain to you the points. I want you to write what are the consequences. Next to that or below that, who will be affected and which nation will be affected the most. Then you write down the BRICS. Let me explain again. Next to your paper, you simply write and what are the consequences. Then you can put this for the letter B. Who will be affected the most and which nation? And then you write down for the letter C, the BRICS. Let us get started with PowerPoint number 1, the Blackouts. And I have been talking and I have been speaking for the last several years concerning the Blackouts. And what I'm going to say to you, you need to prepare because it's going to get dark outside, because I am going to explain also in part 5 of the title, the South China Sea, everything below seawater, and I will explain. It's going to get dark. You're going to experience a whole lot of interruption. You're going to experience not only a whole lot of interruptions, but blackouts. There's not going to be any electrical power. In the grace of God just said to me, the electrical magnetum pulse. And what I want to say to you, you need to prepare because God is going to swing the hearts of world leaders and world power in those nations to go to war against each other. Then the second thing that I want you to understand, that I told you to write down the word drought, because there's going to be a global shortage when it comes to water. Not only water, there's going to be drought everywhere, and you can begin to see that in 2024, there are more droughts than we have ever seen before in this generation and in this time. And it's going to get worse. There are going to be what the Lord just said, and he spoke for the first time, and he said severe droughts. But when you look at PowerPoint number 1, blackouts, in the interruption of every single possible thing, and that war in the dark, you need to realize that nations are going to race. And there's going to be not only a nuclear arm race, but these nations are going to see how can they knock out your power grid. And you, as a civilian, and all of civilization, and all of humanity, I have said over and over, you're in jeopardy, you're in bubble, because when these nations go to war, the first thing that they're going to target, it's the power grid. And how you're going to be left without any power. And let me say this again, that back in 2020, I said that your generators will not help you at all, because that's the second thing that the grace of God just said, generators. Now, the second PowerPoint was the word drought. You're going to see drought. In matter of fact, you don't have to go too far to look. Just look at the Euphrates River, and every single thing is beginning to dry up. In matter of fact, it's not just civilization or land or whatever. It's practically the entire world. There's drought, and there is things that are going to happen so quickly. But I want to go ahead and touch on PowerPoint number 3, called the embassy. Let me explain very clear. And that is this, that if I was the leader of that nation, whether I was the prime minister or the president, I would definitely make sure that at some point you're going to have to close down those foreign embassies that are open in your own country, because those embassies, the enemy is going to practically use that against you to be able to not only pull all the info that they need, especially when that nation is going to go to war with you. So let me explain with more clarity and be more clear. When it comes to the embassy, if I am the president of a certain country, when you see global war break out, and you see that your enemy and your rivalry is about to go to war with you, and you're now in the thick of war, and things are beginning to escalate, and things are beginning to intensify, the best thing that you can do, and the best choice and the best decision you can do as a leader for your country, whether you're a president or a prime minister, you shut down and close your enemy's embassy. In this one, I'm going to give it a trump card and say it's called conventional wisdom. Now, for PowerPoint number 4, eliminating and taking back your land. There are nations that have allowed other nations to buy land from your country, and that in the last days and in these final days, where the Lord said we're reaching the finale. But before we reach the finale, you need to start to make decisions. And the Lord just showed me these words. He didn't speak. He showed me in the realm of the Spirit the word sovereignty. You as the leader, as the prime minister or the president, you're going to have to make some difficult choices in the next several months, because there are practically nations that are not only have brought land from you, they own that land, the land in your own country, and they're going to use that as a buffer against you. Let me say that again. It is time for every nation that sold property, any property or any land to a foreign country or a foreign nation, it is time for you to wake up a whole lot quicker, because global war is about to break out, and we are not too far away, but very near in the future. You will see World War III. And let me say this also. The Lord spoke for the third time. He said Armageddon. There's been only one time where the Lord showed me one word, and that was the word sovereignty. Let's go to PowerPoint number 5, and that is immigration. In this title, War in the Dark, it's going to be dark. There is not going to be any power. There's not going to be any electricity. Water is going to practically be a difficult thing to be able to find or even have water in your own country. Because I want you to understand, as I've always said, lights out. Because we're going into a whole different level. And I have said that the grace of God, not only the grace of God, but He is sovereign and He is holy and He is putting the whole world on notice, and every nation, that you need to listen very carefully to these PowerPoint, because this and these PowerPoint is exactly what's going to happen. The blackout, everything is going to be dark. The drought, they're going to fight war in the dark. There's going to be war in the time where it's going to be pitch dark. And nations are going to use that moment not only as an extra leverage to invade your nation. Can you imagine fighting a war in the dark? There's no power. Your people are scrambling. Your people are panicking. And not only your people are living in fear, but there's very little bit of water and a global food crisis in drought, in severe drought as well. And this, God is putting world leaders on notice that if your enemy in your rivalry has purchased land in your country and own land, and you have sold land to that nation who is trying to practically eliminate you and destroy you, I think it's time for you to take back your land. God said that is called conventional wisdom. Let's continue with PowerPoint number 5, and that is immigration. And this is what I want to say. We are about to experience the global collapse. We are about to experience a global pandemic worse than 2020. And let me lay down not only the brackets of my points, but I'm going to hit these points and not only hit right straight into that target when I explain to you. And what I mean by that is this, that you should not take things lightly, because I have said that in 90 days, life drastically changes on the face of the earth. And you do not want to get caught up in this global pandemic, being in another country, and you're in another nation. You've not only spent time in that nation, but you're going to find yourself stuck in that nation, because this time you need your pencil in what I'm going to tell you, because I said I'm going to hit dead smack that target, and I'm going to bring what the Lord said a few minutes ago to world leader. It's called conventional wisdom, and that is that the pandemic in 2020 is not even close to the one that's about to take place in the fall of 2024. That's why I said that for PowerPoint number 5, immigration, it is better for you to not only stay in your country, because there's going to be a traveling ban, and your own country, I want to make my point across, your own country is going to deny you entrance, meaning you're not going to be allowed to come back, whether it's the U.S. or whether it's some nation that you live, or you're a citizen of that country. You're not going to be allowed. But wait a minute, the immigration in that country that you are stuck, they're going to tell you that you cannot leave their nation, that you are not clear to clear immigration, and you're going to wind up stuck not only in another country, in another nation in a time when this global pandemic, you'll see people, as I said in 2020, when I said that there will be several and some and many times when you will see the global pandemic of, the Lord is showing me the global pandemic of the measles, but the global pandemic of flu. And the Lord said to me just now, bird flu. You need to prepare for the crisis. Not only the crisis, but the mandatory mandate, knowing that if you don't follow the rules, when it comes to that mandate, basically it was mandatory that if you was going to go into a certain country, you had to show that not only you have taken, say, the vaccine, but that you also was fully vaccinated. And what I want to say is this: I'm not going to get into talking about COVID-19. I'm not going to get into the point of talking about vaccination. I just said that because I am telling you that God is sending an alarming warning to civilization. That when it comes to immigration, if you're not careful, when this global pandemic breaks out, lights out, you're going to wind up being in that country more than likely, not only for several years, or perhaps even during the Great Tribulation, or even before the rapture takes place. Now, PowerPoint number 6, confiscating. And what I want to say to you is this, and let me take my time. When it comes to confiscating, if you don't abide by the rules that they will put in place in this new world order being established in a one world government, and I am going to tell you that in the month of October of 2024, I believe that they will have already put everything in place when it comes to a one world religion. The rise of Islam, the rise of the jihadists, the Islamic mystique, the Sharia law, and you can bet that they will come after you. Now let me continue. When I said confiscated, they're going to practically strip you of all your powers, not only of freedom of speech, and I have said that over and over, but when I say confiscate, they're basically totally are going to 100% strip you, and you need to be ready and prepared that is more than likely going to happen. But in this title, War in the Dark, can you imagine a war being fought in your own country? Your nation, it's in battle. Your nation is not only in battle, they're battling their rivalry, they're battling their adversary and the enemy, but the enemy owns part of your country's land. Not only they own certain part of land in your country, and your leaders and your government simply continue to allow them to do so. But remember, PowerPoint number 4, it is time for every nation to take back your land. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter how you eliminate whatever documents have been documented or whatever has been put in writing, or what agreement between that country, in your country, in your government, and that government. You need to understand that we are headed for a major crisis. PowerPoint number 7, Warrant Arrest. And I want to take my time here because the grace of God said to me to begin to explain and to take my time with warrant arrest. You see, it's nothing like 2020. It's nothing like 2021. It's nothing like 2022. And it's nothing like 2023. But wait a minute. In 2024, you've already have begun and have seen stuff that you thought you would never in your life ever see. And the Lord just showed me Matthew 24:21. And they will knock on your door. They will literally put a warrant arrest out on you. Not only a warrant arrest, but they will do everything in their power to strip all of civilization and put you on the ropes. And remember, I said that the grace of God has said over and over that all of civilization, the enemy, if you're not careful, he will put a dinky rope on you. That's why God said that it's best that in these days and in this time, while there is still time left, that every leader of every nation, you take back your land, but not only take back your land, but you need to keep in mind that you need to monitor what's down below sea. Not only down below the sea, down below water, but sooner or later, they will cut the cables. There's going to be blackouts. There's going to be an electrical power shortage. And on top of that, you need to understand this thing called electric magnetic pulse. They are literally going to shut down your country, your nation. And not only just not your nation, but every nation that does not abide, every nation that does not abide or comply or follow the rules of the AntiChrist. Because world leaders with the AntiChrist, those nations that are on board with the AntiChrist, will simply have the upper hand. Now, let me talk about flight tickets. And this is something that I want you to think twice. Use conventional wisdom. Be wise before you go purchase a ticket somewhere in the fall or in early 2025. And I'm not going to tell you to stop traveling or that you need to travel. All I'm going to say to you, back, and you need to pencil this one and circle this one. If you're not registered, which is my PowerPoint number 9, register. PowerPoint number 8 is flight ticket. If you're not registered to what I told you, PowerPoint number 10, the global digital currency. If you're not registered, your ticket will be void. Your ticket will not allow you, and it's not good enough, and they're not going to allow you to board that flight. The same thing, I go all the way back to PowerPoint number 5, immigration. You need to get ready because God is simply about to flex. And in that flexing moment, he's not going to fight men in the flesh. God is a spirit. He's eternal Abba Father, the everlasting Father and everlasting King. And you need to prepare for the return of the King of Kings and the Lord Jesus Christ, because soon he will clear the clouds and the whole world will see him in midair. There is no such thing as a secret rapture. And you need to keep in mind Revelation 3:10. Now, let me go back to flight tickets, because you're going to put up a confrontation. You're going to put up an argument at that airport, at that counter, and literally you're going to see what they're going to do is PowerPoint number 7. It's not a warrant arrest, but they're practically are going to put handcuffs and incarcerate you and throw you into jail. I'm telling you that in 90 days, life changes. But remember the 90-second doomsday clock. Civilization is on the bubble. And if I was you, I really start to believe that what's going to happen any minute now, it's a two-state solution, because they're going to do everything in their power to simply remove Bibi from office. I'm talking about the Prime Minister of the nation of Israel. Now, PowerPoint number 9, I said you need to understand that if you're not registered to the global digital currency, you're basically are not going to be able to be a partaker or participate or be part of society, because the U.S. has basically turned over its power when it comes to the World Health Organization. You're going to see that any day now, when perhaps even before we get to the month of August, or even before we get to the month of September, or even October, when they put in a one world religion, what you may see pretty soon, pretty quickly, it's the Sunday law, where people are going to be told that now your schedule is as follows. You will work 4 days, you will work only 32 hours, and Sunday, it's a Sabbath day. You're going to see the Sunday law. Now, as far as unemployment, I want to make this very clear that I have said that the global digital currency, it's a personal individual choice and a personal individual decision by the whole family and that husband and that wife. Let's continue with PowerPoint number 12, the global collapse. In this one, everyone thinks that this one won't happen anytime soon. But I'm going to fix my glasses. I'm going to flex a little bit, and I'm going to tell you again for the second time, lights out, because everything in the next 90 days comes down crumbling and everything starts to crash. Now, let me explain something, because people are going to say, well, I thought that you said everything is going to crash. Remember, in life, there is a thing called time. There is a thing called also process. Everything must go through its proper process. And in the protocol of that process, there is the time when everything is right. And what you need to keep in mind, that you and I have seen that the process to this taking place and this happening, when it comes to the global crash, not only the global collapse and world banks collapsing, we are even more closer. And not only that, more closer to the mark of the beast and the AntiChrist coming on the world stage. But keep in mind what I said a few minutes ago, and I will say it for a second time. And that is that more than likely they will remove Bibi from office. Not only they remove Bibi from office, but I believe it will be his own people, the nation of Israel, and the Israelite, that will practically force Bibi out of office. Keep that in mind, along with what the Lord just showed me. And the Lord showed me the words, the UN. The UN, along with people in the nation of Israel and with the Jews, are going to be the ones that practically remove Bibi out of office. Let's continue, and let me explain a little bit. And I want to explain one thing, and that is that I told you somewhere in your paper to write, and what are the consequences? Because there are consequences. And when I say, and what are the consequences, I'm speaking about that there are going to be more nations that are going to be affected when it comes to the power grid and power outage. And when it comes to have very little water running, because the Lord said at the beginning, severe drought. That's why I said to write down, and what are the consequences? Because there are nations that are still practically very undeveloped. And it'll be the developed nations that more than likely will survive this barrage of attack that's coming on civilization and on humanity. And when the globalists with the left, with the Antichrist, with the false prophet, once the Antichrist is on the world stage, with the jihadists and everything, in the rise of Islam, in the Sharia law, you need to get ready, because at that moment, you need to realize life is not only have drastically changed, life at that moment, it's in the moment of what? It'll be the moment of the great tribulation. let's go back to not only blackouts, but before I go to blackouts, I said to you to also write down who will be affected the most. Which nations, and I just said seconds ago that it will be nations that are practically still undeveloped. But wait a minute, let me take my time, let me fix my glasses for a second time, and then go ahead and tell you what I'm going to say, because I'm going to hit that target dead smack again. And I'm going to tell you that it's not just the undeveloped nations. There are going to be nations that are fully developed, but they refuse to follow the instructions of the AntiChrist. And lights out, because that nation is going to have a difficult time trying to survive or trying to supply not only what your nation needs and what your people need and what your country needs in the time of the AntiChrist. Now, another thing that I said for you to write down was the BRICS. And I'm going to say it very bold and with great boldness. The BRICS will never have the upper hand. I have said over and over. It is the nations that are affiliated, that will be connected to the AntiChrist, that will embrace the AntiChrist. And like I said, every nation will not agree with everything that the AntiChrist has said or will say or what laws he will put in place. Most nations will. There are going to be some that are not going to follow what the AntiChrist says. Now, another thing that I said is that the nations that are part of the G7, G20, and part of the West, those nations with Europe and the European Union have the better upper hand. Now I'm going to close very quickly, and I'm going to go down the points once again. You need to prepare for the blackouts. You need to prepare for the drought. You need to prepare that as a leader of your nation, as a leader where your people not only have put their trust in you, voted you into office, it is your responsibility and your duty to not only protect the sovereignty of your nation, but to protect your people as well. But let me say this to civilization, and let me say this not only to all of humanity, that in the time when they start pressuring you, and they start to pressure you from left and from the right, and from the right and left, more than likely it will be your own government to try and force you to take the mark of the beast and to get not only to register to the digital currency. I want to make that very clear. The second point was drought, and the Lord said there's going to be severe drought. Then I said that PowerPoint number 4, eliminating and taking back your land, and that is something that most nations and all nations should start doing now, because the grace of God spoke. For the first time, he said these words. When I said eliminating and taking back your land, when I said that, the grace of God spoke, not for the first time. It's the first time I heard him say this when I said eliminating and taking back your land. He said especially your shipping yard, the shipping lanes in the shipping yard where you park not only your ships, and there are other foreign countries that come in there and park their ships. The Lord is saying basically over and over that he just said to me something so powerful. Are you ready? Write this down and pencil this in. He said especially the Pacific Islands, because the Pacific Islands have allowed nations to buy their ports and their shipping ports. And God is simply laying down the law, meaning that it's time for those nations in the South Pacific Island and every nation that is sold somewhat of a shipping port or some shipping lane to some other country, it is time for you to take back that shipping port. I want to make that very clear, what the Lord said. Then I said PowerPoint number 5, immigration. You're not going to be allowed to enter back your country. In PowerPoint number 6, simply, they're going to confiscate and strip you of everything. I went on to touch concerning warrant arrest. I touched when it came to flight tickets. You won't even stand a chance. So it's better to think twice before you go and decide that you want to travel abroad. Because when this global pandemic break out, I say a third time, lights out. You're going to be stuck in some foreign country, in some foreign nation, and you're going to be begging them to let you leave the country, and they simply are going to tell you to turn back and go where you came from. Now, PowerPoint number 10, I said the word register, and I made that very clear. If you're not registered to the digital currency, which is PowerPoint number 10, and then I told you PowerPoint number 11, the rise of unemployment, and you're going to see that. And then it's going to cause the global collapse is going to begin to take its course and accelerate at accelerating pace and speed. I'm going to leave things right here. You say where you didn't talk a whole lot when it came to war in the darkness. And I'm going to simply say to you, you need to get ready and prepare, because I have spoken loud and clear, and God has spoken loud and clear when it comes to those Pacific nations in the Pacific Island, that you should have never sold your shipping port to some other country, because they're going to use that as extra leverage against you. Now, I close with this. Before we get to the fall, the one thing I would say to you is that you need to show a little bit more of urgency, because life will never be the same again. But the church needs to get ready, spend less, be frugal, and understand that there is a collapse coming, and a global pandemic, and a one world religion, and a mandatory mandate by the World Health Organization. I leave it right here. May the Lord so richly bless you. Remember to click like, share, subscribe, hit on the bell to receive our latest telecast. And remember, I catch you on my next telecast of Catch and Go. God bless.